This is actually a company I used to work for, not the top left one, but these ones here. And they were the most anal company ever. And so, okay, this is kind of the toilet of manufacturing. This is the test product that you buy from this company. They make these test machines, right? So basically, it's these large rack systems. And I know way too much about these. And they test basically things that can't fail, like airplanes and things like that, right? But so they also test like cell phones and stuff like that. Whatever company is willing to work with them. Anyway, so if you walk into an actual company, or if anyone in this audience works in an electronic company that has their own test products that they make, they almost always look like this. Or something similar to it. They're kind of this rat's nest, and it's like whatever you can do to gum, MacGyver, whatever you can do to make it work, kind of thing. Whereas these guys here, you might notice there's no wires anywhere on these. Like this one right here tests, I think, the Raptor jet plane. Those ones I don't remember at all. But anyway, these almost all test like all completely different things. Like some of these are medical, they're all over the board. But not one of these has any wires exposed. And it's because, if you do it yourself, a lot of these companies, they don't care how it looks. But the second they got to pay someone to do it, they want it to be absolutely beautiful. No customer is ever going to see these. Once the product is done, they throw them away. These really just sit in a big, giant, ugly lab. But it's really important that it's beautiful. And they will actually not work with this company if the other person's stuff is more beautiful. Okay. That's actually all I've got there, and it's kind of quick there. But kind of want to open up the questions or anything like that. Oh, and run a little quick thing as far as beauty. This product should not be around at all if it really came down to just form follows function. There's no way. I mean, every board game in the world would come with a digital thing or something. I mean, it could be cost for sure. That's cheaper than doing something digital. But in the end, it's still a very pretty thing. So, anyway, I'll just open up the questions. If anyone has any questions for me. What caused the shift to go from form to function?
Form follows function to function.
I don't know if it's completely shifted, to be honest. It's starting to shift. I can't really think of what was the very specific cause. I can tell you that it depends on where you are. I mean, if you're in industrial design, that's probably going to be the last bunker that ever gives up its position on that one. Because I think right now, from what I understand, if you still walk into an industrial design class 101, the first thing you get is a hammer being held up and the declaration that form follows function. But then you go to the other side of things with graphics and stuff like that, and we've been preaching this for a while, so it's completely the other direction. So I think it's more that honestly part of it's the prosumer thing. I think it's just as things get to be a little blurred between what people have been used to in the enterprise and what people have been used to in the consumer world, you're starting to get this thing where experience really matters. In the consumer world, experience has mattered for a while. No one would buy Tivo if they told it was a second experience. It's not that impressive. I mean, it's a cool product, don't get me wrong, but there's other products that do it. But the reason why people get, Tivo or whatever nice product they get at home is usually because they, this kind of goes back to that book, but there's a little bit to do with self-image involved with that. That book kind of talks about like the three reactions you have to a product, and it kind of gets into okay, how does it perform? So that's actually one of the reasons the iPhone isn't doing as well as it could do. I think with like things like Droid coming out, is because when it comes down to it, the call part of it actually doesn't work that well thanks to AT&T. But it's great in every other way. But anyway, one of the things is kind of how you perceive yourself through it. So like if you walk into IKEA and you see a couch, you may think that's a pretty couch, but it's not. But you walk over to this one and say, okay, that one that's more me, for sure. So anyways, I guess people are starting to realize that everyone feels that way. People don't just look at this from a purely analytical, what does this do kind of way. They're actually starting to say, okay, how does this make me feel when I use it? Yeah. That's part of it too, for sure. Yeah, no, things getting cheaper is actually, that's part of what's happening right now with, I know with like, the industry I'm in the video conferencing industry. Part of what's happening is that chips are getting cheaper, which means the market's going to get flooded with people coming into that industry. And so what it really comes down to is how do you differentiate yourself? And experience is what it comes down to. At some point, there's only so much feature creep you can have before no one's going to use those features. But if this is just a wonderful product to use, I'll be loyal.
So what's your take on sort of the reactionary vanguard, like, say, Craigslist, where there's no,
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, because the web is kind of a funny bird. I don't know what the right term is there. It's kind of a funny thing when it comes to usability. There's been some studies out that say that graphics really don't do anything for the web, and there's the same people have come back and said that's actually, we weren't quite as accurate on that as we thought we were. But yeah, as far as like things that are strictly usable, I can't argue with things being completely usable, but there's more to aesthetics than just graphics. So like this instance with Craigslist, part of that is white space and making sure that things are completely legible and visually make sense to you. And they've got nice titles, they've got these kind of gray bars behind each title. Sure, they don't have amazing fonts and there's nothing spinning on that page, but that works. That's what looks good for them. Yep.
You mentioned the iPhone and the top quality. One of the things I find interesting is sort of a misdirection of the feature set. If you try to find cell phones online or other review sources based on call quality, you won't. You won't find what anyone's talking about. You'll find out about camera quality, you'll find out about the visual capabilities, the screen space, the resolution. But you won't find anybody talking about call quality. You find that interesting.
I best have a theory about that. My theory is how little time you actually spend on the phone with those versus how much time you have them on your body. But that's really honestly a theory. I don't design cell phones right now, so I have to do research.
I've done research on call quality from the call center. They're all bad.
They're all bad. I know my cell phone's horrible, and that's why I haven't actually upgraded it. So.
I have a question about back in the history. What do you think led to those two-handed digital watches used to wear that would take two hands to get over?
Oh, the digital watches? Okay, so I don't know a whole lot of history about them, but I've had long, extensive talks at work with the other crazies about this very subject, and why we think